Hello everybody, it's me, The Dark Knight, and I'm gonna be talking about the Joel Schumacher movies from the late 90s. Well, mid to late 90s. Do you like my big pecs? I'm sure Joel Schumacher would love my big pecs. You like that, Joel? Do you like this, Joel? I know my suit doesn't have nipples. I can put nipples in post. So, yeah. Now I have nipples. Is my suit better now? Cool. Kids nowadays have it so good. Matt Reeves blessed them with The Batman, which is one of the best Batman movies ever made, if not the best. When I was a kid, Batman meant something a lot different than he does now. This is way before I was exposed to the Tim Burton movies. Nowadays, those movies hold a special place in my heart.
What are you?
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier.
But before I watched those, I was exposed to two movies. And oh god, they are so goofy. These two movies alone almost entirely define the schlocky superhero genre of the 90s. Obviously, I'm talking about Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Joel Schumacher made these movies. He wanted to take Batman in a very colorful, cheesy, goofy direction. And I think he achieved just that.
I'll get drive-through.
It is said that they said we want it lighter and brighter.
They didn't say lighter and brighter. What they said is we want you to do it and we want to do it your way.
Joel Schumacher, the crotch connoisseur. This is the same man that directed 2004's Phantom of the Opera and a movie called Falling Down, which I liked a lot. He also directed 8mm, a Nicolas Cage movie that I haven't seen for some reason. So the original cut of Batman Forever was 3 hours long. Apparently it was much darker and heavily explored Bruce Wayne's psyche and guilt. Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to be in this movie. He was supposed to play Dick Grayson or Robin. Can you imagine what the world of cinema would look like today if Leonardo DiCaprio accepted this role?
What the fuck is that?
He turned it down because he didn't like Joel Schumacher's direction. Michael Keaton turned down the role of Bruce Wayne for the same reason.
At some point, Michael Keaton and Warner Brothers decided to part company, and they shook hands and walked away from each other. I was not in the room when this happened, so I can't give you the blow-by-blow. It was created for people to have fun at the movies.
Robin Williams was offered the role of the Riddler by Warner Bros., but he refused the role due to being bitter about being used as bait to lure Jack Nicholson to commit to play the Joker in the movie Batman that was released in 1989. Tommy Lee Jones was Joel Schumacher's first choice for the role of Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones accepted the role because his son Austin, 11 at the time, said Two-Face was his favorite character. I always think it's so cool when an actor decides to take on a role because their son is in love with the comic book character. It must be so awesome being a son or a daughter to an actor, and then to have your parent act as one of your favorite characters in a huge movie like this must be so cool. In this movie, Batman is played by Val Kilmer. I have to say, out of all of the Batmen, Val Kilmer is my least favorite. I don't like him in the role at all. I'll explain more in detail as we go. Apparently, Val Kilmer and Joel Schumacher clashed during filming. Schumacher described Kilmer as childish and impossible. According to Schumacher, Kilmer refused to talk to him for 2 weeks. Wow. I have to say the saving grace of these movies is definitely the music. Elliot Goldenthal did an astounding job with the soundtrack. We get a nice crotch shot in the intro, but sadly no ass. Schumacher isn't an ass man, I guess. Oh, just kidding. That comes in an hour and 40 minutes into the movie. Yeah, they do it twice for some reason. The whole like suit up thing. I'm not sure why Joel had a big hard on for these suiting up sequences, but for some reason, he loved them. I gotta say the Batmobile looks pretty badass in these movies. Although I have to say, for someone who dresses all in black to blend in with the shadows, his car is very flashy. You're not hiding this car from anybody. You could see this car from the top of a building 5 miles away. It's like a beacon. This thing glows so hard. It's worse than those racer kids that love to put LEDs in the bottom of their cars. I don't think showing all this glowing shit happening inside your car is necessary, you know? Like, it looks cool. I gotta say, it's pretty intimidating. If I saw this thing driving at me, I probably wouldn't stand in the way. But yeah, I guess as a kid when I saw this, I was like, oh my god, the car is so cool. I didn't think at all about the practicality of it, so And I'm pretty sure Joel Schumacher didn't have practicality in his mind at all when he was thinking about these movies.
We made a living comic book. That's what it's supposed to be.
Alfred is played by Michael Gough in these movies, and I think he's my favorite Alfred to date. I don't think any other actor captured Alfred's spirit as well as Michael Gough did, at least in my opinion. Tommy Lee Jones hams it up like crazy as Two-Face in this movie. I love it.
Patience, so bifurcated one.
Pace as hell, we want him dead!
He's constantly howl laughing. His interaction with a cop before flipping a coin to decide his fate is so well done.
Luck! Blind, stupid, clueless luck!
His first fight with Batman culminates into Batman ending up trapped in a steel container that slowly fills with acid, and Two-Face is carrying the container with a helicopter. I mean, if he really wanted Batman dead, he could easily just drop the container that has him in it, right? But that'd be too easy, I guess. So he's just carrying this container and he's waiting for it to fill with acid. But of course, Batman escapes somehow. It's pretty ridiculous. Also, I gotta say, Joel, why did you put nipples on the bat suit, dude? Why'd you make his muscles so defined on this suit? How come you made his ass so juicy looking? What's with the dick shot? I don't understand. It's very weird. And it even bothered Batman creator Bob Kane. So there's really no excuse, Joel. Your bat suit is very strange.
Holy shit, look at all that meat!
Joel Schumacher said he wanted the costumes to have an anatomic look, and he also gave Robin an earring because he wanted him to be more hip. Yeah, that's the word, hip. He also claims that the basis for the Batman and Robin suits came from statues of the gods of ancient Greece. I mean, that's cool and everything, but it's still so weird. So yeah, obviously Jim Carrey plays the Riddler in this movie, and his acting is just classic Jim Carrey. Lots of very exaggerated faces, lots of screaming and weird voices. He's pretty entertaining. He might be a little bit more ridiculous than usual in this movie. His acting in this movie is incredibly goofy, basically on par with Ace Ventura. According to Jim Carrey, he did not get along with Tommy Lee Jones. I guess Tommy Lee Jones told Jim Carrey that he hated him in his films. Like, what the hell, dude? You're working with this guy on a movie. Maybe don't sour your relationship? Jesus Christ. Apparently, the personality clashes between Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey annoyed Joel Schumacher to the extent that he stated he would never again work with either of them. However, he later worked with Carrey on The Number 23. So yeah, let's revisit Val Kilmer. He acts like a wet noodle in this movie. He's basically just a handsome brick. Literally zero personality. At least George Clooney had some charm. Apparently, Batman co-creator Bob Kane liked Val Kilmer's interpretation, so maybe Batman is meant to have a very dull personality. I haven't read the comics myself, but yeah, I don't know, that's just me. Nicole Kidman plays Batman's love interest in this movie. She plays Dr. Chase Meridian. She's basically Bruce Wayne's therapist, and she's obsessed with Batman. Holy shit, the dialogue in this movie is so funny. Batman says this.
You're trying to get under my cape, Doctor? It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
Chicks love the car, he says. After Chase Meridian tries winning him over, we get a scene of Batman in his car, and he just says, women.
Women.
Girls, am I right, dude? Women in their games. Even Batman can't escape them. There's a scene when Batman and Chase Meridian meet at a bat signal, and Chase Meridian says this. Last night at the bank, I noticed something about Two-Face, his coin, which is weird because Two-Face never uses his coin within view of her at the bank, and she could not have seen it from the ground if he had. This scene was originally written to take place after the circus scene, where she really did see him use his coin, and the bat signal, seen from Wayne Enterprises, was actually supposed to be what led Bruce to the bank in the first place. So yeah, this movie is all discombobulated. There's a lot of nonsensical shit that happens in these movies as far as grappling hooks go. Like there's one part when Batman's grappling hook pierces through solid concrete and it somehow supports the weight of a 2-ton safe. Like, come on, man. So yeah, I know Edward Nygma's supposed to be this weird nerd. His sense of humor is kind of awkward. That's definitely reflected in this movie.
Sucking up your IQ.
There's a part when he bashes his boss over the head with a coffee tin, and then he screams, "Caffeine will kill ya."
Caffeine will kill ya!
Oh my god. Riddler's device in this movie is this brave wave thing. It's supposed to distract people with 3D television so he can absorb their intelligence or something. Maybe 3D media was such an insane concept at the time that this wasn't as ridiculous as it sounds now. Because I gotta tell ya, if there's one thing I can say about 3D movies, it's that they make my eyes hurt, and if anything, I just want to leave. It's not a great experience. Jim Carrey originally had the idea to shave a question mark into his scalp, but it had to be scrapped because he was due in court to finalize his divorce. God damn it. Just like Batman said earlier, women are always getting in the way.
Women.
So there's a scene when the Riddler pushes his boss out the window after tying him up and putting him into a chair. Somehow the Riddler altered the security footage and made it so convincing that it just shows his boss running and jumping out the window and committing suicide. Despite the fact that this is impossible to do, I mean, maybe he used mind manipulation on them. Who knows?
We'll dredge the river, but with that current, I doubt we'll ever find the body.
There's a scene when Two-Face takes over a circus and he really wants to know who Batman is. Bruce Wayne is attending the circus with Dr. Chase. He's standing right next to her. He literally screams, "I'm Batman." But I guess she didn't hear him or something. Yeah, she doesn't notice. Very convenient. Also, Two-Face's plan to hold the circus hostage unless Batman gives himself up doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So yeah, they brought in a bomb and they're gonna blow the place up. But Dick Grayson saves everybody at the last second. He basically carries the bomb up onto the roof and throws it into some water. But if Dick Grayson hadn't been able to throw the bomb into the river, everyone in the circus would have died, including Two-Face's thugs, who hadn't evacuated the building yet. So either they're completely disposable, or he just doesn't give a shit. Even if the thugs had been evacuated, the way the scene is shot, it's very unlikely that any of them would have escaped. Even Two-Face himself, even though he had escaped through a trapdoor, he still would have been killed, as the entire surface would have collapsed in on him. It's highly unlikely that this was intended to be a suicide mission, meaning that Two-Face and his entire gang hadn't really thought this through. What? I can't believe this, dude. Robin is played by Chris O'Donnell in these movies, and I think he does a decent job. Even though his character is made out to be kind of insufferable, his acting was decent overall.
You got a real gratitude problem, you know that, Bruce?
Dick Grayson watches as his family plummets to their death. The scene is made less impactful because we don't actually see their death. Instead, we get a close-up of Bruce's shocked face, which makes the scene less impactful. But whatever, I'm sure it probably would have affected the rating. Who knows? The way they show Bruce's memory in these movies is kind of cool. You can tell they're memories because they're very dark and they're shrouded in mist. I thought it was a very creative way to show something like a memory. Memories can't be recalled perfectly, so I thought that was kind of a cool touch. Everything in these movies is very flashy. Even Two-Face's henchmen drive cars that all have flames spraying out the back for some reason, and all of their guns light up. They're very cool. Then there's a scene when Batman uses a grappling hook with his car to drive up the side of a building. It's hilarious. He has very sticky tires or something. What is happening?
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid bastard?
I'm left scratching my head at this part, guys. What is going on? I'm not sure. It's so confusing. Is it magnets? What's going on?
How do they work?
Two-Face whines exactly like Waluigi when things don't go his way. I love when they show us his lair, because it's split down the middle into two sides. There's the normie clean side and the gothic edgy side. He even has two women that each reflect one of these sides, and they compete against one another to win him over with meals. The Riddler pops up out of nowhere and convinces Two-Face to work with him. There's a pretty funny scene of them breaking into a jewelry store and stealing diamonds. They like compare diamond sizes. It's like, hey, the Riddler's got a tiny dick and Two-Face has a big dick. Is that what they're trying to tell me? Speaking of dicks, then we get a ridiculous scene of Dick Grayson showing off his laundry folding skills. Like, look at him go, dude. Look at him wring out those clothes. Truly remarkable. You're telling me Batman doesn't have tech that can dry clothing well? They need to hang dry their clothes in the Wayne Mansion? I can't believe this, dude. These movies are so good. Then randomly, Edward Nygma becomes a reputable tech god in the city of Gotham, and he sells out of his 3D box thing. Yeah, somehow he's able to market himself perfectly. I don't know what kind of marketing team that Edward Nygma has working for him. Everybody in the city loves Edward Nygma now. They love his box tech thing. They all want the new cool thing, the new tech, the new 3D TV, because you know how very prevalent 3D tech is in the everyday household now that we're living in the future. Yeah, that's something that you do every day, right, dear viewer, is use your 3D TV. As if Dick Grayson wasn't being weird and awkward enough, we get a scene of him swinging around the Wayne mansion like a chimpanzee. Like, what the fuck, dude? This isn't your home. What are you doing? If this dude was in my house, I would kick him out immediately. Get out! Get out, dude. No. And he just happens to land his ass in the Batcave because he makes a mistake. It's so dumb, dude. Like, come on. You just happen to land in the Batcave? All right. I love how when I saw this as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Look at how cool this guy is. He's swinging around. Oh my God. And it just gets worse. Dick Grayson then steals the Batmobile. Like, Jesus, this guy is a terrible house guest. Out of all the cars he could steal, he takes the Batmobile, dude? Come on now. During filming, the Batmobile was usually driven by stunt drivers, but Chris O'Donnell insisted on driving it himself in this joyride scene. And during this scene, no joke, he crashed it into a curb and dented a fender. Hilarious. I gotta say, the fight scenes in this movie are super mid. Not much to write home about here. A lot of the time you can see that the punches and kicks aren't connecting, and sometimes it comes across like you're watching professional wrestling. And the sound effects are so goofy. So there's a scene when the Bat computer reacts to an intruder in the Batcave by turning the power on for everything and unlocking the various Bat vehicles. Which in itself is a pretty awful system, right? Like, this response makes it a lot easier for an intruder to steal the Batmobile than if the system did nothing, but okay. Remember in the new Batman movie when Robert Pattinson is using a glider and he flies down to street level and crashes? I thought it was weird that he didn't suffer any significant damage during that part. But then I went and watched this movie. There is a scene when Batman mysteriously hovers from the top of a building down to the ground using nothing but his cape. Just his regular ass cape. He's able to hover down to the ground. What is happening? I don't think that's how capes work, man.
No capes.
But fine. Okay. I'm pretty sure even when I saw this as a kid, I was like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't think Batman could do that. Later in the movie, we learn that Edward Nygma's stock in the stock market is outselling Wayne's.
Nygmatech stock is outselling Wayne Enterprises 2-1.
You know Wayne Enterprises, like Bruce Wayne, the billionaire? How is this happening? This guy just blew up in the market and he's outselling Wayne? It just doesn't make any sense, man. What? That would be like if Oculus stock was outselling Amazon. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't care how many people own this device. What the hell, dude? Later in the movie, during this very fancy party, Nygma dances with Dr. Chase, and his style is very interesting. So yeah, Two-Face breaks into this party with a bunch of henchmen, and seemingly out of nowhere, he shoots Nygma's brain box that's sitting in the middle of this room. Like, why, dude? I know this guy's kind of off kilter, he's a little bit, you know, cuckoo, he's a little wacko, but come on, man. And the best part is, they only have him do this because earlier, Bruce Wayne had his mind shackled by one of these devices. So they had to find a way to unshackle him, and the only way they could think to do this was to have Two-Face randomly show up and shoot the fucking thing.
Riddle me piss, Batman. Why do they call it an of-in when you of-in the cold food of-out hot? Eat the food.
Some of the sounds that Two-Face's thugs make are so funny, dude. Just listen to this. Two-Face, unsurprisingly, has some very awful dialogue in this movie as well. He literally says this before igniting some gas near Batman.
Nothing like a bad case of gas!
Like what? Does this guy fart all the time and it stinks? What's going on? Does his left ass cheek have a really awful smell while his right ass cheek has Like, it smells like roses, come on. In this movie, Robin basically forces his partnership onto Batman. Robin saves Batman from being buried by rocks, and then he instantly goes in this whole spiel that Bruce has no choice but to partner with Robin. Listen to what Robin says to him right here.
What the hell did you think you were doing?
You got a real gratitude problem, you know that, Bruce? I just saved your life. You owe me. You're looking at your new partner.
What the hell is wrong with this guy? Kick him out of your house. He's stealing your vehicles. He's trashing your house. He's being weird with the laundry. This guy is crazy. Get him out of here. Oh my God. And I love how Alfred just encourages his behavior in this movie. He literally makes him a Robin suit. Like, what the fuck, man? You are seeing his erratic and disturbing behavior right before your eyes. And you're like, hey, this guy, he looks like someone that I want to be in this house all the time. I want this weird monkey man swinging around this house like a crazed person. I really love the way he dries the laundry. What is going on with Alfred? What the hell is this movie, guys? I know they kind of feel bad for him because he lost his family. Maybe that's why he's so insane right now. But come on, dude. Put this guy in a psych ward for at least a few months. So Batman meets up with Dr. Chase at nighttime, and Dr. Chase turns him down because she's falling in love with Bruce Wayne. Batman turns towards the camera and faces away from Dr. Chase, and we get the funniest face I've ever seen. Oh my God, how is this not a meme? Look at this Batman smile and tell me that this is not meme material. It looks photoshopped. How is that a real smile? How the fuck did they film this smile and not think to themselves, wow, this is a little bit too goofy? This is a Joel Schumacher movie, so let's be real. Nothing is too goofy. Two-Face and the Riddler find out who Batman is by watching the recording of Bruce's brain box session. They then infiltrate his mansion by literally pretending to be kids trick-or-treating. It's so funny.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed.
Bitch!
Two-Face's goons chase down Bruce Wayne, and they're so horrendously inept at everything they do. Bruce is just running circles around these guys. It's so funny to watch because it doesn't look like Bruce Wayne is more capable than these men and that he's outperforming them in any way. These guys are just absolute morons, and Bruce Wayne is just a regular human. So then the Riddler randomly starts blowing stuff up in the Batcave, and then there's this weird baseball scene. What is this? What was that sound he made? He blows up the Batmobile, and then he does this. Guys, what's a joygasm? Someone tell me, please. I don't know what it is. This is so weird. Then comes the most ridiculous scene in the entire movie. Two-Face is about to kill Batman. Bruce Wayne is knocked unconscious. But then the Riddler stops him. Yes, the Riddler saves Batman. I guess because they want him to suffer more or something? Why not take him as a hostage then? Instead, they just leave him in his mansion, unconscious. What? What is happening? What is going on? Ah! They're trying to convince me that this Riddler guy is smart, but he's making the dumbest decisions I've ever seen.
R. What's that stand for?
So yeah, Robin obviously has this huge hate boner for Two-Face because he killed his family. And throughout the movie, Batman keeps telling him, revenge is not the way. It won't make you feel better. Killing him won't solve your problems. But you know what also won't solve your problems? Saving his life! Yes, you heard that right. Robin saves Two-Face's life. How is this in the movie? The dude is hanging off a cliff. Just leave him there. If he falls, who gives a shit? But no, Robin, the big dumbass, saves him. I know it's supposed to show how noble Robin has become, but what the fuck, man? It would have been 1,000 times better if Robin saw him hanging there, flipped a coin and said, let's leave it up to fate, and walked away without looking at what the coin landed on. And then we as a viewer see that it landed on tails, and Two-Face loses his grip and falls and dies. That would have been so much better. But you know what happens instead? Instead, Robin ends up being captured by Two-Face because Two-Face pulls out a gun and holds him captive. I mean, clearly Robin should be able to deal with this guy who just has a gun, right? He's like a superhero with super reflexes. You can deal with a gun, especially if he's standing right next to you. But no, the gun's too scary, so yeah, he's a captive now. So yeah, they capture Robin and Dr. Chase. And Riddler gives Batman a choice. He can either save Robin or save Dr. Chase. Obviously, he doesn't choose one of them. Instead, he decides to destroy the Riddler's brain box in a very strange attempt to save them both. It doesn't do much. In fact, it only serves as a distraction so he can find a way to save them both. Realistically, this makes no sense, but he manages it somehow. He jumps down and saves them both. Don't ask me how, he just does. When Riddler presses the button to kill Robin and Dr. Chase, the sound effects that they use for the button is like the same sound you would hear for a blaster in Star Wars. Like, who chose the sound for this? Who did the sound effects in this movie? Were they on acid? I don't get it. Why does this button sound so weird? So Two-Face randomly shows up in the pits where these people almost fell to their deaths. I don't even know how he got down there to begin with, but yeah, he's there all of a sudden. Bruce convinces him to flip a coin. So he's like, yeah, you're right. I should probably do that. So he flips a coin and Batman throws a bunch of coins in the air. And Two-Face gets confused. He's like, oh my God, where's my coin? And he falls to his death. What? Just fuck the coin at this point, dude. But then we get the epic part where his hand's still there and a coin lands in it. And it's like, oh, cool. He caught the coin. So yeah, Riddler is all fucked up looking now. And he says this.
Why can't I kill you?
Why can't I kill you? Seriously? I mean, you could have earlier when he was unconscious in his mansion, you absolute idiot. Edward Nygma's face is all fucked up from absorbing brain power unfiltered or something. I'm not sure. But when they show him in Arkham Asylum at the end of the movie, his face isn't fucked up anymore. So maybe they did surgery on him, who knows? The movie ends with a super cool shot of Batman and Robin running towards the camera. It's epic. So yeah, that's Batman Forever. I don't hate this movie. I actually find it incredibly entertaining. It's goofy as hell. I know it's not trying to be realistic in any way. So obviously a lot of the things I said are pedantic and they're nitpicks. So don't take this video too seriously. I just have fun picking apart movies like this. Obviously this movie is meant to be like this and it's not a huge deal.
We made a living comic book. That's what it's supposed to be.
But yeah, moving on to Batman and Robin. Somehow this movie is worse than Batman Forever. I don't know how they managed it, but round of applause to Joel Schumacher. How the fuck did he manage it? And again, the soundtrack is amazing. Thank you, Elliot Goldenthal, for single-handedly making these movies twice as good as they would have been. And you guys know Joel Schumacher. He loves his ass and crotch shots, so we get more of it in this movie. Hell yes. God forbid he scrapped the crotch and ass scene. We need the close-up. We need the close-up. It's necessary. The level of detail they put into this part is insane. Like, do you really need to show us them clicking their belts on? And their suits still have nipples. This was also a problem during the Tim Burton movies. By the time they were creating this movie, they still didn't know how to craft a suit that would allow Batman to turn his head left and right. There's a bunch of scenes where he awkwardly has to turn his entire body to face someone. The super flashy Batmobile makes a return. Like I said before, it's not covert at all, but at least it looks cool. That's all that matters. Batman is played by George Clooney in this movie, not Val Kilmer. Clooney is definitely not my favorite Batman to date, but he's better than Kilmer. Pat Hingles returns in this movie. He plays Commissioner Gordon. In the last movie, he was forgettable. In this one, he's just bad. His delivery is just terrible. I don't know if he just didn't care about this movie at all, but it definitely comes across like he's phoning it in. Watch as he reads his lines right here.
Batman, a new villain has commandeered the Gotham Museum. He's turned the security guards into blocks of ice.
It sounds so unnatural, although I have to admit, there's a scene when Ivy uses her horny dust on him, and it's pretty funny.
Who are you, dear lady?
You're way too old for me.
No, I'm not. Please, come back.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this movie and he plays Mr. Freeze. He is incredibly cheesy and I love it. I actually like his suit too. It lights up unnecessarily, but I think it's pretty cool looking, to be honest. You guys thought the writing was bad in the last movie? Holy shit, it gets way worse, depending on who you ask, because if you love puns, you're gonna love this movie. Let's just read off some of the puns he says. Very nice. Always winterize your pipes, he says, when he breaks out of prison in one scene. My condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy. Tonight, hell freezes over. All right, everyone, chill. The Iceman cometh. You're not sending me to the cooler. Stay cool, bird boy. Allow me to break the ice. It's a cold town. Freezing hell, Batman. Cool party. Let's kick some ice. Tonight's forecast, a freeze is coming. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. I'm surprised they didn't get Vanilla Ice to make the music for this movie. Ice, ice, baby.
Let's kick some ice.
Maybe that would be too far. The 48 puns, though, those are fine.
I hate when people talk during the movie.
I love how Mr. Freeze's gang is just a hockey team. They literally come out to attack Batman and Robin on ice skates, armed with hockey sticks. Like, come on, dude. What the hell are they gonna do? During this fight scene, the physics are so wonky. Batman and Robin seem to just float around. Objects seem to stick to surfaces that they shouldn't be able to, like Mr. Freeze's gun when it gets thrown. The fake ice in the room is not convincing at all, and it doesn't help that they're all lit up from the inside, like giant fancy lamps. It does fit the schlocky goofiness of the movie, so I appreciate it in that way. It's so dumb, but it's so good at the same time. I also find it weird that Batman and Robin are fighting these guys on ice, but they're not having any issues keeping their footing. And then, oh my god, guys. Then ice skates emerge from their boots. They have emergency ice skates just inside their boots. I'm not sure how that's even possible, but yeah, it happens. It's so good. Then they start playing hockey with this diamond that Mr. Freeze came to steal. Then there's this glorious scene. This police officer is approached by Mr. Freeze, and he starts screaming before anything happens to him. He's then thrown into space, and I'm not joking. He's just thrown upwards and he just keeps going up. I guess this guy's filled with helium or something.
Thanks.
Then there's a part when Batman and Robin are standing directly in front of Mr. Freeze. He shoots the giant dinosaur statue instead of just shooting Batman or Robin. Oh yeah, it's just so the writers would have an excuse to make Mr. Freeze say something about the Ice Age.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
For whatever reason, Mr. Freeze has a car with a rocket ship on the back of it, and he uses it to blast himself into space. Batman and Robin are both on this ship. The only reason Mr. Freeze has this rocket ship is because when he shoots himself into space, it's very cold up there. And if there's someone on this rocket ship that he doesn't like, they will definitely freeze to death on the ship. And that's the only reason he has this rocket ship. Like, what the hell?
At 30,000 feet, your heart will freeze and beat no more.
Freeze, you're mad.
Imagine owning a rocket ship just so you could shoot people you don't like into space so they will freeze. Oh my god, this is so much funnier because he has a freeze gun. He has a gun that he can shoot at people and they will freeze. What? The best part is that he uses his freeze gun to secure Batman to the ship so he will freeze in space instead of just, I don't know, using the gun.
Freeze, you're mad.
All this effort just to freeze them in space. It's so funny. Mr. Freeze jumps from the rocket and he uses a parachute. Oh wait, no he doesn't. Instead, he has little Mr. Freeze wings, because of course he does. When I watched this movie initially as a kid, I was like, hell yeah, all of this stuff makes sense. This movie is awesome. I love it. It just goes to show that kid brain just likes to see fun stuff, and kids generally just don't question the legitimacy of anything. I have to say, it makes movies more fun in a lot of ways. I do love how over-the-top Schumacher made this movie. It's insanity, and he definitely knows it is. He was definitely going for that, and it works in that way. But it's also terrible. Like, it's undeniably terrible. You just can't take this movie too seriously. And again, I know I'm being pedantic. I know I'm nitpicking. That's the point of this video. I'm trying to have fun, guys. Don't ruin my fun, okay? There's always somebody in the comments that's sitting there in front of their keyboard drooling all over it with their Cheeto fingers. Oh my god, Elvis, this movie is supposed to be goofy as fuck. You always take things too seriously. I know that. You think I don't know that? I know that. They all land on the ground safely. Mr. Freeze ends up freezing Robin, and Batman is right there, but he decides not to freeze Batman for some reason. Instead, he just says another ice pun and pieces out.
can you be called Batman?
He's got to have a witness for his ice puns, you know? That's why he kept Batman alive, so he could tell Alfred and all the other people he knows about Mr. Freeze and how clever he is with all of his ice puns. I like George Clooney's voice as Batman more than Val Kilmer's.
You get the ice, I'll get the Iceman.
I don't think Clooney is perfect for the role. I think he plays a better Bruce Wayne than he does Batman, but it's definitely better than the cardboard that we had in the last movie. This movie overall has a very cartoonish and goofy vibe to it, but then there's a super terrifying scene of this skinny guy being forced to transform into Bane against his will. I remember this scene haunting me as a kid. It's really disturbing. Dr. Jason Woodrue is played by John Glover, and he is perfect. He hands up the mad scientist thing to 1000%.
Time to scream.
And I love this one interaction between him and Pamela Isley, or Poison Ivy. She's played by Uma Thurman. There's a scene when Pamela Isley threatens to expose Dr. Woodrue, and this is how he responds.
I can respect your opinion. Sadly, I'm not good at rejection. I'm afraid you'll have to die.
Bruh, did Elliot Rodger write this screenplay? Michael Gough reprises his role as Alfred in this movie, and I think he's my favorite part about this movie. I adore Alfred in this movie. He's just the quintessential Alfred, and the flashbacks that Bruce has in the Wayne Mansion with Alfred are a nice touch. The computer sound effects in this movie are so weird. I guess the sound effects guy from the last movie returned for this movie, because what the hell? When they open a new window or zoom in on something, the sound effects are so odd. In '97, I guess they really thought computers in the future would be accompanied by weird noises with every action you took. When we meet Poison Ivy for the first time, she emerges from the ground with dyed long red hair and not a speck of dirt on her. It's very weird. And the strange tongue face John Glover makes after Ivy kisses him is priceless. I guess they made him suck on a green Jolly Rancher before filming. Like, what the hell? Mr. Freeze is then seen orchestrating a sing-along with his hockey team. What the hell is this movie? He's wearing a polar bear robe and smoking a cigar, which is kind of weird for someone who needs to be a certain temperature to survive. I would love to see a darker and grittier version of Mr. Freeze, since I feel like his depressing story would fit perfectly in a movie like that. There are a couple scenes in this movie that I really like. There's a scene when Mr. Freeze is watching a recording of his wife, and then he's interrupted by one of his goons, and this is like the leader of his gang, but he instantly freezes him, displaying his ruthlessness and his undying love for his wife.
Yes, I'm a simp.
I really dig the colors in this movie. The aesthetic is amazing. Every scene is incredibly vibrant. It just fits the comic book vibe very well. Oh my god, the Batman credit card scene absolutely floored me. I completely forgot this scene existed until I watched the movie again. So basically, Poison Ivy makes this grand entrance during the auction scene. I guess these rich guys are bidding on women and jewelry. Very normal.
Some lucky boy's about to hit the honeypot. I'll include an evening of my company for the winner. I'll bring everything you see here, plus everything you don't.
Ivy uses her pheromones on Batman and Robin. It makes them horny, so they start bidding on her. Batman then whips out his Bat credit card.
$7 million.
Oh my god. It's accompanied by a cha-ching cash register sound effect. It's so good. This card is good through forever, I guess. He says that he never leaves the cave without it. Uma Thurman's acting as Ivy versus Pamela Isley was pretty good, I thought. When she plays Ivy, she's much more confident and bold, and I thought that was a nice touch.
Make yourself right at home.
So Mr. Freeze comes out of nowhere and crashes the party.
All right, everyone, chill.
And he steals the diamonds, because he needs diamonds to power his suit that keeps him cold, I guess. The way he uses a vine to jump across the entire room is so good. It just sent me, dude. There is one poignant scene between Bruce and Alfred. Bruce gets in a disagreement with Dick Grayson because Bruce doesn't trust anyone's judgment but his own. Alfred helps Bruce explore why that might be.
Alfred, am I pig-headed?
Why, yes. Actually, you have done everything in your power to control the fates. But what is Batman, if not an attempt to control death itself?
But I can't, can I?
None of us can.
It's scenes like this that I think a lot of people overlook when they think about this movie, because the flashier, cornier, stupid scenes, they're just much more memorable, so it kind of makes sense. Alicia Silverstone is in this movie, and she plays Batgirl, or Barbara Wilson. Most of the scenes with Batgirl were cut because Alicia Silverstone had gained a few pounds during production, and the wardrobe team had to refit her costume. Apparently, when the press discovered the news, they slammed Silverstone's weight gain and mocked the actress for being too fat to fit into her costume. Schumacher publicly defended Silverstone during interviews and press meetings. Pretty fucked up.
That's not awfully PC.
Remember how weird Dick Grayson was in the last movie? Well, Barbara Wilson is in this movie, and she's here to echo those actions. She borrows Dick Grayson's bikes without telling him because she likes to compete in underground street races. Wow. Batman eventually catches Mr. Freeze, they bring him to jail, and they transport him in a fridge. There's a scene with the glowing cyber goth gang. They're in the movie for like 30 seconds, but they never left my memory. I think it's because of their creepy glowing contacts. Ivy and Bane get rid of these guys in like 2 seconds, and then Ivy redecorates the place by growing plants within it. Then we get this one moaning flower as it blooms. So weird. We get to watch one of Batgirl's bike races, and there's pyrotechnics going off constantly throughout the race. And most of the time, it's for seemingly no reason. It's just a bunch of pyrotechnics going off just to make the scene more intense, I guess. Just sparks flying everywhere. Also, before the race, there are random guys dressed up as the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange. I never noticed this until I rewatched it. So weird. Batgirl almost falls to her death during one of these bike races, and Robin barely saves her. And this is how she reacts.
So this is where you hang out. How long have you been racing?
Just a couple grunts. What the fuck? No big deal. This is not a normal reaction to have in this scenario. She comes across mildly inconvenienced that she could drop to her death at any moment. What? Barbara's reasoning for street racing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. She says she's doing it to get Alfred away from his life of servitude so he can relax.
Alfred is the sweetest, most noble man alive, and he has subjugated all his life and dreams to someone else.
So she's racing to make money so Alfred can leave. And yeah, the master-servant thing is kind of weird, so I get that she would want to help him, but Alfred also loves the family. This is where he wants to be, but she refuses to accept that. And that's despite the fact that he's the butler to a billionaire. Like, this guy is wealthy. Alfred has money. If he wanted to leave, he easily could. Whatever, dude. I love how Poison Ivy's superpower is just horny breath. She just blows at people and it makes them horny. It's, phrasing! It's very interesting. And then she kills people by making out with them. Keanu Reeves' worst nightmare. There's this really weird scene of Bane transporting Freeze's suit to him in a shopping cart that he rushes through the prison. When Bane arrives with it, Freeze says this.
A laundry service that delivers.
Wow. God damn it. I think this movie would be a lot better if the writing wasn't so bad.
Not good.
Poison Ivy and Freeze share an interaction about his suit size. Yeah, listen to this.
What are you, about a 50 big and tall?
No, always go a size smaller. Makes me look slimmer.
And then they escape through a hole that's created magically by Mr. Freeze bursting some pipes. They jump to safety because there's water down below, and water always saves you. It doesn't matter how high up you are, water will always save you. Look at how high up they are. Thank God there's water there, because then they'll just jump to safety. Right, kids? That's how it works. They'll be fine. So Alfred is dying in this movie, and there's a pretty interesting subplot that tackles Alfred's role in the family. There's a scene when Bruce asks him if he's ever regretted his life working for them, and this is how he answers.
Looking after heroes? No, sir. My only regret is that I was never able to be out there with you.
There are some moments of tenderness in this movie between these famous characters that I really like. Later, at Alfred's deathbed, Bruce expresses how his entire life he's been trying to beat death, and how sometimes his crusade feels pointless, because he can't save the one person that he cares for most in the world. Of course, by the end of the movie, he ends up saving him anyway. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but you know. Earlier in the movie, they showed Freeze sharing a moment with his wife, who was floating in a restoration tank in a secret room behind some frozen food. Later, Batman instantly finds the button to the secret room, like he knew it was there all along. Doesn't make much sense. He just opens it like, oh yeah, this is obviously here.
Here we go.
Also, before entering the room, they refer to Ivy's legs and boobs as stems and buds.
Great stems, though.
Buds, too.
Yeah, those are nice.
What? Later, when Batman and Robin are fighting Bane and Ivy, Ivy says this.
That's why every Poison Ivy action figure comes complete with him.
Ivy and Bane sell action figures? Since when did they become celebrities with marketable toys?
Don't turn me into marketable plushies.
Or was she just making a weird joke? I'm not sure. I know how I said Ivy's superpower was horny breath, but her real superpower is that she's cunning and manipulative. She pits Robin against Batman.
Your own big, bright signal in the sky.
But Batman is smart enough to see her plan for what it is. Robin, on the other hand, has small brain, and he's corrupted by the horny. Ivy attempts to kill Freeze's wife and frames Batman and the corrupt society that birthed him.
What do you mean by that?
She does this to win Freeze over, but also take away his distraction that was his wife, and to build him up with rage to kill Batman and to do her bidding. Mr. Freeze's plan is to freeze the entire planet and kill all of humankind, and Ivy wants Mother Nature to take over.
Adam and Evil.
Oh, brother!
So I guess they're gonna freeze the planet and then wait for all of the ice to go away so she can have her plants take over everything. It seems to me like Mr. Freeze's plan is a little bit counterproductive to Poison Ivy's. She really wants her weird mutation plants with tongues and teeth that are very realistic looking, by the way, to take over the world. Yeah, they look like something you'd buy at a Halloween store. Again, Robin is a pain in the ass the entire movie, and he isn't likable at all. Batgirl's role in this movie could have been better. She's hardly in it. I know that most of her scenes were cut because of her weight gain, which is kind of silly to me, like whatever, just make a new suit that's a little larger. It probably fucked with continuity, that's the main reason. I will never forget this scene of Mr. Freeze blasting these two innocent workers near the end of the movie. "Who is this nutball?" the guy says, and then they're both frozen stiff. I don't know why, but this scene always terrified me as a kid. And obviously later when Mr. Freeze freezes the entire city, I found it really scary. Like, what do you do when you're a big icicle? Not much. I'm not David Blaine, okay? Cheese it! Cheese it! Mr. Freeze has Bane place bombs throughout the entire satellite tower, and they're basically just a bunch of glowing icicles. Like, what the hell? Where's the bomb in these things? The Ivy confrontation at the end is pretty neat, as far as visuals go anyway. She's in the center of this massive flower. Robin knows that she has death kisses, but he really wants to make out with her. So before going to see her, he put on a lip condom. A lip condom, dude! So she didn't give him death herpes. After they kiss, like a moron, he removes them to demonstrate that their shared kiss didn't kill him. Instead of just forcing another kiss on him, which would have killed him, she pushes him into some water. Batman gets wrapped up in her vines. Batgirl comes out of nowhere. She crashes through the skylight, and then she says this very clever line.
You're about to become compost.
Like, come on. How does she even know who Ivy is? Oh yeah, they sell action figures. They're celebrities. How could I forget? And then Batgirl delivers this very long-winded, awkward line.
Using feminine wiles to get what you want, trading on your look. Read a book, sister. That passive-aggressive number went out long ago. Chicks like you give women a bad name.
Nobody talks like this. There's a shot of Robin emerging from the water, but they didn't want him to emerge from the water right here, so they just put the same shot in reverse to make him go back down, and it looks awful. During the Batgirl versus Ivy fight, she takes out the world's least deadly looking knife. What the hell is this thing? Did she buy it at the Dollar Tree? And she acts like she just did something intimidating. Like, come on girl, you'd be better off with a butter knife. She's then kicked into the flower that she was once sitting in, but now it wants to eat her? Why? It was literally closed on her earlier, but it wasn't eating her then. Why is it eating her now all of a sudden? Then there's this hilarious line between Batman and Batgirl.
And you are?
Batgirl.
I guess he doesn't recognize her? Dude, come on now. You know who this is. There's only one person on Earth this could be. And then he makes a weird comment about the name Batgirl not being PC enough.
That's not awfully PC. What about Bat person or Bat woman?
Well, I mean, we got Batwoman. That show wasn't a complete dumpster fire or anything. Let me know if you guys want me to review that in the comments. So yeah, in this satellite tower, Mr. Freeze sets up a massive freeze ray, and he says the infamous line,
Let's kick some ice.
This part is particularly fucked up. This is another scene that really scared me as a kid. I think it's incredibly memorable and I love it. We literally watch as he freezes the city. Entire buildings and streets filled with people reduced to blocks of ice. I remember finding this prospect super terrifying as a kid. Batman has these little Batman symbol shaped heaters that he defeats Mr. Freeze with. And then they unfreeze the city by redirecting the sunlight from the opposite side of the world with the telescope and melts the ice over Gotham. It doesn't make any sense.
I think not.
When the heroes are trying to unfreeze Gotham and can't wait the 5 hours until dawn, Robin suggests that they use the satellites to reflect the sunlight.
If we could relay the sunlight
From the other side of the equator.
This in and of itself wouldn't accomplish anything. The equator is a measure of latitude, while time of day, or night, is determined by longitude. In this movie, the characters' grappling guns are insane. They can seemingly cover any distance and hold any amount of weight. It's hilarious. And the characters use them constantly to get out of trouble. There's this one part when Batman saves 2 workers from falling, but then leaves them stranded on a frozen cliff. They thank him as he zips away. Like, what if he doesn't come back for you? Of course he does. When Batman free falls on the telescope, along with the 2 scientists, they dive for approximately 30 seconds, which means that the observatory is located at about 4 kilometers above the ground, and that Batman wears a 4-kilometer long grappling hook. There's this cute Mr. Freeze redemption arc at the end when Batman reveals to him that his wife is still alive and Ivy was the one that tried to kill her. And remember how Alfred was dying? Well, hilariously and conveniently, Mr. Freeze has 2 vials on him and they help save Alfred from his cancer. I mean, it's a cute ending, but it's so dumb.
After his wife contracted a rare disease, McGregor's syndrome, he hoped to freeze her in a cryogenic sleep until he could find a cure. Now,
It's stage 1 of McGregor syndrome.
McGregor syndrome. That's what Freeze's wife had.
yes, Alfred's condition is less severe. Freeze's research said he cured a case like Alfred's, he just didn't say how. Help me save another life. Show me how to cure McGregor's syndrome stage 1. And maybe you can also save the life of the man your wife once loved.
Take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
In later interviews, director Joel Schumacher blamed studio pressure to make the film more toyetic, basically just a showcase for marketable toys and games.
Desire at the studio to keep it more family-friendly, more kid-friendly, and a word I had never heard before, more toyetic.
We involved the toy company. We let them look and be involved in how the Batmobile was going to look, how Batman's gadgets were going to be, which they wanted. This is key to them.
In a making of documentary on the DVD, he apologized to disappointed fans.
If I disappointed them in any way, then I really want to apologize.
Didn't ask, don't care, plus you're white.
It kind of sucks all the backlash that these movies got because they're timeless. They're so stupid, but they're so entertaining. There's a lot to love about them. George Clooney has been known to refund people who saw this movie. When they wrapped filming, George Clooney quipped, "I think we just killed the series." And he was right. Joel Schumacher had several meetings with Warner Bros. Trying to convince them to let him make another Batman movie. He wanted to take the film back to its darker roots and make a Batman Year One movie. He wanted to cast Kurt Russell as Commissioner Gordon, but Warner Bros. Decided not to rehire Schumacher, and the next Batman film stayed in development limbo for years until Batman Begins. After filming was completed, Arnold Schwarzenegger had heart surgery. Studios were anxious about ensuring Schwarzenegger in an action movie, and he couldn't get work again until the movie End of Days. According to John Glover, who played Dr. Jason Woodrue, Joel Schumacher would sit on a crane with a megaphone and yell before each take, "Remember everyone, this is a cartoon." Apparently it was hard to act because that kind of set the tone for the film. Apparently after Val Kilmer refused to return for this film, David Duchovny was also considered for the role of Bruce Wayne. Duchovny was later considered for the same role in Batman Begins. I'm not sure how I feel about David Duchovny being Batman. I loved him in The X-Files and Californication, and maybe back then he would have been perfect for it. This movie was voted as the #1 in Empire Magazine's 50 worst movies ever in February of 2010. Damn! If not for the universally negative reaction to the film, 2 sequels were planned. Batman Unchained, a direct sequel, which would have George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell reprising their roles, although there were no plans for a Batwoman to return. Scarecrow and Harley Quinn would have been the main villains, with cameos from past villains in the series appearing as hallucinations due to Scarecrow's fear gas. The film was going to take Batman Batman back to its darker roots. The other film was a Robin Nightwing spin-off, with O'Donnell reprising his role as Dick Grayson. It is speculated that if films beyond Batman Unchained were to be made, O'Donnell would be Nightwing rather than Robin. The idea remained in limbo until parts of the plot were reworked for the 2015 video game Batman Arkham Knight. When comparing work on Batman Forever to this film, Chris O'Donnell explained it just felt like everything got a little soft the second time. He continues, "On Batman Forever, I felt like I was making a movie. The second time, I felt like I was making a kid's toy commercial." He also complained of the Robin costume, saying it was more involved and uncomfortable than the one he wore in Batman Forever, with a glued-on mask which caused sweat to pool on his face. Screenwriter Akiva Goldsman was blamed for ruining the movie. Schumacher defended him, quoting,
Akiva Goldsman was blamed a lot for the sort of lightness and humor and fun and games of Batman and Robin. But that's not fair. I take full responsibility. I mean, Akiva did write the script, but I shot it. You know, if you love a movie, there are hundreds of people that made it lovable for you. If you don't like it, blame the director. That's what our name's there for.
I still partially blame Akiva Goldsman for how awful this movie is. The writing is seriously terrible. George Clooney hates the film. It's been rumored at various times that if you meet Clooney and tell him you saw the film, he will give you your money back. And he has outright stated that he apologizes for the movie whenever he gets the chance.
I always apologize for Batman.
However, Clooney has also said that he doesn't regret doing it at all, and in fact credits the film for making him a leading man in Hollywood, as he had previously been a TV actor. He still keeps a poster of the film in his home office as a warning to himself. John Glover, who played Dr. Woodrue, was also the voice of the Riddler in Batman the Animated Series, 1992.
They have to match wits with the Riddler.
You look great, especially for a dead woman.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you'd like me to review in the comments down below. I have a bunch of plans for reviews. I want to review all the Underworld movies, all the Matrix movies, maybe Lord of the Rings one day. Just a never-ending list of stuff I want to talk about. So don't fret. I will always have something in the works. Thank you so much to all my patrons out there. You guys are awesome and you make videos like this possible. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Bye. See ya!
As a warning, I'm vengeance.